Hi, everyone. I'm Krista Cameron, a proud member of the Encore Canada team. We're thrilled to be here to share some of our insider tips and bring you behind the curtains to explore the behind the scenes of producing virtual and hybrid events. The perception out there might be that it's effortless, and we want you to be the judge. So now I'm pleased to introduce two of my favorite colleagues who will be joining us from the trenches to share some tips. Madeline Bart, our Vice President of Creative and Marketing, and Brian Johnston, our National Director of Creative Innovation. So guys, why don't we start with some tips on how planners can best prepare to have that first conversation with a virtual event partner they are considering. Maddie?
Perfect. So Krista, during that initial call that you have with the planner, what tips would you give them in terms of what they can prepare for that initial discussion?
For sure. Before that initial call, prepare to communicate these basic details. To share the vision and goals of your event. To provide an agenda. That is absolutely key, or a draft agenda will do. Number of people that will be on camera. And for hybrid events, the number of people that will be remote versus in person. The number of attendees that you expect to view. Do viewers need to communicate with each other? That's an important feature as well, along with if there is any form of audience engagement, such as Q&A or polling required. Are multiple languages required? Will all streams be live, or is pre-recording an option? And then finally, be prepared to provide complexity details. For example, will you show video rolls, or do you require some content to be created?
Thanks, Krista. That sounds like a great starting point checklist for planners in those initial discussion phases.
Absolutely.
So I know that depending on the kind of event that a planner is organizing, they may be required to share some additional details. Could you elaborate on what some of those additional details could be?
For sure. An example could be board meetings. They are more collaborative and require participants being comfortable with the format. A managed webinar is recommended in this case, in which an agenda is required for who's to speak and when, along with a plan for actionable items, so it isn't a free-for-all. A different example might be a virtual AGM, and we're asked for this all the time. Planning an AGM, you will likely require scripting, so it is best to have a script outline to share with your VEP. That's your virtual event partner. I call it VEP, even though it's technically VEP, but VEP. A discussion around voting requirements will also be key. Do they just require yes, no, or one-word answers? Would a simple hand-raising feature suffice? Are multiple levels of questions required, such as registered or weighted? Sharing your bylaw requirements are essential to choosing the platform for that type of meeting.
Thanks, Krista. In the words of Tony the Tiger, those tips sound great.
I
can't resist. Regardless of what kind of virtual or hybrid event that the planner is seeking to create, let's share some tips and best practices to create a polished and professional webcast. So the first recommendation I really love to highlight is the importance of having rehearsal time. This is critically important to the success of an event and should be held at the same time as the event itself to ensure accuracy. In addition, speaking onboarding is critical for your virtual or hybrid event. Even the most versed speakers can feel uncomfortable when speaking virtually. Depending on the complexity of the program, the VEP or VEP or VEP may need multiple touch points with the speaker to ensure proper camera angles, sound checks, internet connectivity, or more. Having your speaker onboarding at a separate time, usually before the rehearsal, is really important to ensure a real seamless rehearsal time.
That sounds great too, Maddie. And I've got one. When creating your virtual agenda, consider there are more distractions that will compete for your viewers' attention. So shorten your agenda, keep it simple, and limit each session to an hour whenever possible. while extending the length of breaks since your viewers have extra roles when they're working from home.
For sure. And in a virtual event, you also want to look at increasing engagement opportunities. This could include using a networking platform that includes chat or gamification features. You could use things like polling and Q&A to help engage your audience, or even use an upvoter to ensure that the questions most important to your attendees are going to be focused on first.
Yeah, I agree for sure. And one tip that's often not thought of is around sponsorship. So it's very important to put a sponsorship strategy in place, just as you would for a live event. Your strategy should include benefits of sponsorship, along with methods to achieve ROI in the virtual space. Some people just don't realize how much exposure you can provide to your sponsors. And we are happy to help with suggestions if anyone is interested, for sure.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's a pretty great list, and we definitely need a virtual high five. How fun was that? How fun was that?
Awesome. That's awesome.
Well, Krista, any final thoughts before we move on to our next topic?
I guess I'd say when looking for a VEEP, be mindful that because of the demand during this time, numerous companies from outside this realm may be new providers. So when shopping, protect your organization and your reputation by asking each of them about their experience in producing virtual events. How long have they been executing virtual events? Do they have any production experience? What organizations have they worked with are all good starting questions. If their answers do not satisfy you, moving on is the best way to mitigate your risk. I would also be aware of the difference between a platform versus a platform and production. It's two very different offerings, for sure.
Thanks, Krista. And speaking of production, let's turn it over to Brian to give us a behind the scenes tour of what it takes to produce a virtual or hybrid event.
Thanks, Krista and Maddie. Today we're going to walk through a little backstage tour of a couple of our virtual and hybrid presentation spaces. Behind me, you can see a lot of gear. Yep, that's what it takes to produce these virtual events that actually have some pretty good production value. So we're going to head over and have a chat with Scott, and Scott's going to walk us through some of the stations and some of the ways that we handle the actual production side of virtual and hybrid events. Hey Scott, how's it going, bud?
Oh, hi Brian. Nice to see you today. So yes, this is essentially one of our virtual production studios. It's quite easy for us to set up because this is very similar to what we've been setting up on your event sites in person. The only real difference here is that we're set up in our offices to support your events virtually. Plus, we've added one fairly large station to support all sorts of video conference calls on your platform of choice, be it Zoom, be it Microsoft Teams, so on and so forth. We can support all of your virtual event needs.
Awesome. So Scott, I see like 4 or 5 different positions here. What sort of operators would be working in this space?
Well, let me start with where I'm sitting right now. This is sort of our video switching station. This operator is in charge of making your video layouts for your webcast or live stream and switching what goes on. They also kind of manage any sort of video playback we have going on in your event. In this case, we're just playing some nice looping background material just to make our actual webcast look just that little bit more sharper. In addition to that, they manage some of our encoding and recording decks that we have here. Say a recorder here and again more encoding, and they're kind of responsible for the visual look of your show. Now, if we move over one station, this is one of our newer stations we have here, and this is our video call station. So this is set up so we can use any video calling service you want to come into your event. So today we're set up with our Zoom laptops everywhere. So here we have right now 6 Zoom laptops dialed in so we can bring individual presenters in and have them in their own sort of gallery layout, or if we want to switch between them a bit more rapidly, it gives a different look rather than your just generic Zoom gallery view that everyone's getting used to, and adds a lot of value to your production.
So are you like treating each of these laptops like a camera to a virtual presenter? Is that kind of the idea behind it?
That is the exact idea behind it. With having multiple cameras, we can go back to producing events like they were in person. We have multiple cameras and we can switch between them quite easily. So this gives us flexibility to customize the production to your exact needs and gets away from just the generic looks you are stuck with Zoom. Awesome. So this station is our Zoom call operator station to manage that.
Awesome. So what's on this side back here, Scott?
This is a bit more of a standard station you would see even on an in-person event. This station here is responsible for all of our graphics. So be it PowerPoint slides, keynote slides when we go to keynote, and other presentation materials. So we're set up to handle those here, as well as say graphics for some of our camera switching. Say you want a title name below your presenters, we can do that off a laptop here with lower third name keys. So this station is set up for that.
Awesome, very cool.
Finally, our last but very most important station is our audio station. So our audio operator doesn't have as much to do in a virtual scenario as they would normally. Instead of managing multiple microphones, they're managing multiple sends to different locations. So we need to have a feed for your Zoom callers. We need to have a feed for your audience, so on and so forth. So they're kind of taking command from that. They take command of that space from here. So we can do things like playback music and stingers, just like you normally would in a live event, but now for your virtual.
Cool. So as far as the production goes and the like the producers and that sort of thing, obviously we have internal producers. We also work with third-party producers. Where are some of those located? I understand you're working with some of them completely virtually also. How's that work?
Yeah, that's right. We're actually working with, again, virtual producers, virtual technicians, show callers, so on and so forth. And using video calls, we can bring them into our production. We're set up with our system here that we can directly work with anyone in the world. All they got to do is dial into a Zoom call or maybe a Teams call, whatever flavor you'd like, and we can send them back production video in real time so they can do their jobs effectively.
And so their voice on the call would be tied in with your ClearComm also with all the crew here?
Precisely, yeah. We are set up so our crew are in direct communication with any crew that's on the other end of that video call. The benefits of the video call give us that real-time video and audio flow with no delays like you might see as an attendee watching a webcast. So that's one of the big advantages of the way we are set up for these virtual events.
Very cool. So Scott, I'll put you on the spot here a little bit. What would you say is one of the most unique virtual events that you've produced since the start of COVID? We've obviously had a big turnover, a lot of events happen, but what's one or two that stand out? And give us a little talk of how we handled it from a technical perspective.
Well, I would think the most important event, or rather the most technically challenging event that we've done so far was an award show. Now, this client had done their award show normally in person and was just about to load it in the week that COVID shut the world down. So we were working with them on ways to kind of recover the content we had already built for them. So we managed to take the content and package it up into more of an award show just watched online. However, our client was trying to find a way to engage their nominees and other participants in their event a bit more directly. So we came up with the idea to treat this award show more like the Oscars. So using Zoom, we brought in all the nominees, and when their award came up, we would actually put them all on screen at once and then zoom in full to the winner of each, just like you would see on the Oscars. So an Oscar-style award show, very rapidly, because we had 51 award categories to get through in 90 minutes. It was quite the marathon session. And for that one, we actually expanded to 2 Zoom call stations just to manage it. So upwards of, I think that was 12 cameras we had for that one award show.
Very cool. So as you can see, a virtual production is, not just a Zoom call on the other end. There is a lot of technical behind it. And interestingly enough, you may recognize, like Scott said, most of these positions from your live event productions. A lot of the technology transfers over, a lot of the skill set transfers over. But we have to remember, if you're looking for a produced and polished production, then you need the technical support and the technical expertise behind that. Now, taking things to the next level, we'll take a quick little teleport upstairs and show you one of our hybrid presentation stages that allows your presenters to come right here in the building, nice studio lighting, high production value cameras, and we'll show you the setup that goes along with that. So welcome upstairs. This is one of our presentation stages. This one happens to be located in Mississauga. It is at our Mississauga branch location. We have taken the upstairs floor, part of the upstairs floor, and converted it into a space that we could use both for entertaining clients and for actually producing a broadcast. So you'll notice some things here taken from television and theater. We've got green room, because we want to make sure that people can get ready before going on camera. Makeup and those things are very important when you're doing anything on camera in a studio. Then moving over to this side, we have obviously a coffee station and all those components, because everyone gets thirsty. And then, similar to downstairs, we have the technical side of the presentation stage. And again, Scott teleported up here, ran up faster than we did. But Scott, what stations do we have up in this setup?
Well, just like downstairs, we have some of the same stations that you would need to produce your event. So our video switching and playback station is here. We have our graphic station just behind. Another station over here for video calls. Depending on what platform we want to use, we can support Teams, Zoom, so on and so forth. We have a station for a producer here, which is a little bit different than we did downstairs. We have that downstairs in a different space we weren't able to show you, but here you can see someone can jump in, put down their laptop, jump on comms with everyone else, and then see exactly what's going on in and out of the studio to do their event. There's an older audio setup here that's going to move a bit. We actually have a new one we're going to show you in a second. And just follow me and we'll actually show that off. So in here, this space is set up to control all audio for this studio space. Now what's different about up here is our audio technician needs to be able to see what's going on in our studio space. So we've given them a nice big TV to kind of keep tabs on all the cameras and can see who's speaking at what time and make sure they're heard correctly. So this space helps do that and gives them a little bit more isolation from the rest of the crew. And that's kind of the technical spaces up here, I'd say.
And as you see here, when we're actually producing a show in the presentation stage, our meet safe guidelines and cleanliness is key. You'll notice we're both wearing masks. Everyone, when they're not on stage, is required to wear a mask. We have a certain number of people we're allowed to have in the building at one time. All the microphones are dedicated, one microphone per person, so that we're not passing microphones back and forth to each other, and then everything gets sanitized at the end of the show or at the end of the day.
There's lots of wipes available.
Exactly. So we'll take a quick little walk into the actual stage space. And this is, like I said, one of our presentation stages. We actually have an entire network of presentation stages now across the country and even into the US. And that's really the thing that we see happening over the next few months as we go into Christmas and the New Year and into the spring busy season, is spaces like this that allow you to interconnect and still give that polished presentation. As you can see, all the things that you are used to as far as a presenter. You've got your presenter view there. We can have your IMAG shot or any virtual presenters that you're maybe having a panel discussion with. We can have them on the monitor there, so you can still interact directly from the stage to anyone who's calling in remotely in a video conference platform. So all of that can be done within this space, and with the technical support that you're used to when you're producing a live event. The actual staging and look of the show is completely customizable. In this case, we've got a hardwood floor down and a monitor in the center with a nice wave wall backdrop. But ultimately, we can come up with anything that you may want to do. So yeah, that's really our future outlook on where the industry is going. And I say future outlook, we're already executing shows in this space. So the future is here.
Thanks so much, Brian. And I think I saw my office back there. What have you guys done to it, honestly? Anyway, on to our final topic. As we move back to face-to-face meetings, I'm going to ask Maddie to share some of our Meet Safe guidelines with you. Maddie?
Thanks, Krista, for sure. As we know, meetings and events support more than 10 million jobs worldwide. So to help get the live event industry, event planners, and our teams back to work, meeting safely has to be a key priority. Working alongside our venue partners, Encore has designed a series of meeting formats, equipment packages, and recommendations that address how to reduce risk and increase confidence while promoting health within the meeting industry. Meeting design, room layout, traffic flow, technology considerations, and enhanced cleaning procedures are at the heart of this offering, with the goal to make meetings and events stronger and healthier than ever.
Thanks, Maddie. And we all can't wait for the day when it's face-to-face meetings again. I'd like to thank my awesome colleagues who I adore working with every day, and all of you for giving so generously of your time. We hope you found value in what we've shared and that it enhances your efforts going forward. We're always available to answer questions or help in any way we can. Thanks so much.